It's the Morning Brew with Elle Dawson and Gillian Robertson. Brought to you by Fight Bananas.
Good morning, guys. We flipped the screen today. We're here, though. We're a little late, but let's get into it. Elle Dawson here. Joining me is, on this side now, is Gillian the Savage Robertson. What's up, G?
We're getting it figured out. We're getting rolling this morning. A little bit late, but we're, slow morning, long night last night. I think both of us were almost up, almost watched all the fights last night, which is a rare thing for both of us.
Almost. Keyword is almost. But hey, G is the main host today. She's carrying the show, y'all. I have not finished my coffee. We're going to make it. So Vegas 105 last night. Solid Apex card, I would say. It wasn't anything to write home about, but there were some really great performances, some exciting fights, some interesting in-fight decisions. It was overall a good night. How would you rate the card? Just what grade would you give the card straight off?
Probably I'd say a C, maybe B minus. It wasn't great. It wasn't anything spectacular. There was a couple fights that did stand out, right. But as an overall, I feel like the whole card wasn't necessarily super spectacular.
I agree. I agree with what Sean's saying here too. The main event did kind of underdeliver. I'm honestly not sure why I expected so much more from it, to be honest, because I really like Lerone Murphy. I think he's a very complete fighter. I think he's really skilled. I don't think he has a whole lot of holes. However, if I really think back, he does have this very reserved style of fighting. He waits a lot. He looks for good openings. He's not typically a guy that heavily pushes the pace. And I think his style is a really tough matchup for a guy like Josh Emmett to get his big shots going, because Lerone is so reserved, is so tactical. So maybe I expected a little bit too much from this main event in my own mind, and it probably just delivered, if I'm being honest with myself.
I feel like after both of their last performances, it's hard not to expect a lot out of it. With Josh Emmett with Bryce Mitchell, Lerone Murphy with Edson Barbosa. I'm both of those are just. Oh yeah, Ige too. I'm both phenomenal performances, and it's just it's hard to not expect something huge to happen out of that. But it's such a hard fight to score, I will say. Every single round, I feel like Josh Emmett was walking forward, trying to push the pace, trying to keep up the pressure. Lerone was dancing on the outside, finding his shots. And it was just, was Lerone doing enough on the outside, finding those shots? Was Josh Emmett doing enough, just pushing the pace? It was I feel like every round was just super razor thin close.
Yeah, no, I agree. The biggest moment of the fight was this big slam in round 2. And then you're right. It just kind of settled after that. I was oh, Lerone's he's a slow starter. He's just a slow starter. That's why round 1 was just him feeling him out, finding his range. And then Emmett had a couple huge moments in round 2. I was oh, this is awesome. And then it just kind of they both kind of were we're going to do just enough to stay in the fight, almost is kind of how it felt. And also, Sean, you make a good point here. They just switched spots. It doesn't do much for either one. I think the UFC was giving Lerone Murphy an opportunity against a name and a dangerous guy like Josh Emmett to put on a performance like he had against Edson, and he really didn't. So I would agree with you, because it was such a close fight. This really did very little for either fighter.
And I will say, Josh Emmett didn't just slam him. He threw him.
I've never seen that before.
He was in midair. I've never seen somebody get that much air in a takedown. That was the most impressive thing I've ever seen.
Well, you know what DC kind of does, where he kind of he gets the high crotch and he lifts them super high and almost fireman dumps them over. That's kind of what I thought what he was doing. And then he literally just chucked him over his head.
I literally threw him.
Awesome. I was like, oh, this is great. This is great. Lifted him like he was a sack of potatoes. But yeah, I agree with your assessment of it. I feel like it was just a really close fight. I don't disagree with Lerone winning by any means. I don't think it was that close, but I don't know. It wasn't, I agree with Sean. It wasn't what I had expected.
No, I can say that too. And like I said, I feel like it's just coming off of both their last fights. It's hard to be like, it's hard not to expect a lot. It's hard not to expect fireworks or something like a big knockout or something like that. So they were just kind of like you said, in the first round, I was like, oh, Lerone's just a slow starter. And then it just seemed like he kept that pace kind of the whole fight, just like picking his shots, finding his openings, but never really trying to go in for the kill at any point.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think everybody's pretty solidly in agreement on this fight, that it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. And Lerone Murphy's still really good, but we thought we were going to get something a little bit different out of it last night. Speaking of scoring fights, Fight Bananas shared Tony Weeks' scorecard. Interesting. Very, very interesting. I will be the first to say it was not the most exciting fight. And I'm not super happy with how Torrez Finney decided to fight in the third round. But if you are absolutely exhausted, you can't deny that he did what he needed to do to get the win and not get finished in that third round. So I don't know how you argue that. Like, nothing, like, people are like, oh, well, the damage. It's like, do you not understand how damaging it is to get picked up 5 to 10 feet in the air and dropped on your head and your spine? Like, I'm sorry, but a handful of punches that got no blood, no cuts, not even a welt on Torrez Finney's face, that doesn't win in the damage argument for me against ginormous slam takedowns. Your thoughts on that?
The only round, and I believe all judges gave him the third round. I'm like, that's the one that I can make the argument for, of like, Torrez was just kind of holding onto the legs and Valentin was working elbows, like he was trying to actually fight, where Torrez was trying to hold on. Where in the first 2 rounds, I feel like they were pretty obviously one-sided. I think they were obviously went to Torrez. That being said, the way he fought in those first 2 rounds is the reason he had to fight on the Contender Series 3 times. Is the reason he didn't get signed, is because it was not an exciting fight to watch. I was talking about it last night. I'm like, I feel like it is a very tough fight to have, but like, it makes sense why he's undefeated, but it also makes sense why he was never signed for such a long time. I'm like, it's such a boring style to watch, and you need to be able to do more ground and pound. You need to be looking for submissions. You need to be trying to finish the fight in ways, but it also makes sense why he's undefeated, because I'm like, it is just such a tough fight. Like, even what he did in the third round, just being able, he's like short, stocky little tank of a human being, can get under and just hold somebody against the cage. And if he doesn't have the ability to create the space to get you off of him, especially having a taller opponent, it's a very difficult fight. And I don't know, just as you saw in the third, Robert Valentin was trying to fight and just didn't have the opportunities to.
And yeah, if you can't stop the takedown, like, how do you beat Torrez Finney? Like, like, how do you beat him? And honestly, I think if I am Torrez Finney's coach and we're watching this fight back, I just go, hey, we need efficiency in the first 2 rounds. I will give him a little bit of a break here because he's so short. I feel like it's very difficult for him to control guys at middleweight on the ground. Like, he can ride like nobody's business. And his mat returns look beautiful, like insane. But it's going to be pretty hard for a guy built like that to throw hooks in on a guy like Valentin, right? So I understand part of the reason why he has to lift guys so high and expend so much energy is to make sure they are totally flat when he gets them down and there's no scramble when they hit the mat. But if we can just make him more efficient in these first 2 rounds, his third round could look like his first 2 rounds. I think he just expended so much energy lifting this humongous guy over and over and over again. And I was like, man, he can still push the pace. And then you see him come out in the third, and the drive in his takedown was still there, but the finish wasn't there anymore, right? So and I don't think Valentin magically got better at defending Torrez Finney's takedowns in the third round. I think Finney just had no gas left to give, But it's I agree with you. It's just not exciting to watch. I think he's really talented. I love good wrestlers. I love when good wrestlers beat good strikers. It's one of my favorite things. We can talk about the Brito fight later. But I think he can be really good. He just, like you said, he needs to find ways where he can finish.
Yeah, I feel like wrestling, everybody looks at it as the most dominant sport. Obviously, there's been a lot of wrestling champions. And I'm like, I do believe that, but there's also no finishing element to wrestling, which I feel like is just like the huge downfall. So it's like, yes, he can control the fight. He's dominating the control of the fight, but he has no way to take Valentin out of the fight at any point.
Yeah. No, I agree. You see like some very half-baked, maybe this could become an arm triangle, but it just doesn't seem like there was the ground and pound to set up the submission or really much damage happening. So I hope he can fix the problem, because I think he can dominate a lot of fights. And I don't want to see a guy, not have his job because he's boring when he's that talented.
Mm-hmm. No, and like I said, it's just the fact that he's already had 3 shots in the contender to change it. That's the only thing that I'm like, you've already been given a lot of opportunities to change it. Like, you got to get on it now, or it's like you don't deserve to be fighting at the highest level, quite frankly.
It's fair. It's a fair assessment. Do you know where he trains?
Now I know this last camp he's been at Fusion in Orlando.
Yeah. I mean, maybe he was in more of like a wrestling room. I know like when a lot of high level wrestlers like transition to MMA, they kind of stay in their wrestling room because they want to keep their wrestling sharp. And then they maybe train with a handful of MMA fighters, but it's just so different. Somebody who I think mixes it really well was actually last night was Toledo, Alan Carr. Like, I know she didn't get the finish, which I feel like mostly was just because they were in some really weird positions. Vanessa just trying to defend and stay alive there. But like her pressure, her style of grappling is so good for MMA. Like, it really is. Like, we've seen other jiu-jitsu practitioners come over and maybe their style doesn't fit in quite as well. But you're another person who's adapted your game really well for MMA. Like, what did you see with just her pressure and the way she kind of floats on top and does a lot of damage there? Did you like that style?
Oh, no, I feel like that was probably Toledo's best performance that we've seen so far. Think you've seen her grow as a fighter in her last couple performances. So I think even that just shows a lot. It shows her growing on the biggest stage. A lot of people, I don't know, especially, I believe she is over 30. I'm like, it's like once you're over 30, typically people are going to be the same fighter. You're not really going to see a lot of growth. You're not going to see somebody like make these huge changes in their game. They're going to typically stay the same. So I'm like, for her to be making these changes and all this growth, I feel like it's definitely impressive. I feel like last night was her most impressive performance to date. I kind of expected, I've trained Toledo's down here. I trained
with her before too. She's freaking good.
Yeah. She's definitely good on the ground, good jiu-jitsu. And I would like, she did more than she ever has before, but I would like to see her open up on the ground and pound a little bit more, have a little bit more confidence in that. Because there was some times where I feel like she was just almost holding on to Vanessa when she just needed to let go and throw strikes and just be confident in her own ground and pound. But obviously, like, I really think she is growing, and that is her best fight that we've seen so far.
No, I agree. And like what you said, and I was curious, so I looked up and I was like, how old is Torrez Finney? He still has time. I'm gonna give him a pass. He's 26 years old. And he might be and I have no idea. He might be in his first high-level MMA gym ever. He may. I'm not going to, don't quote me on that, guys. I don't know. But, if that's the case, if he's still kind of transitioning into a high-level MMA gym at 26 years old, he's got time. I'm going to sit patiently and wait for it. But with Toledo, I think something that works to her advantage, even though she is a little bit older, she's still newer to MMA. Mm-hmm. So it's like she hasn't maybe solidified all the habits that she's going to have. She still has time to adjust her game, even though she is technically older. She's younger in the sport, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So,
I just feel like, especially if you see like a jujitsu practitioner coming over, it's just so hard to develop so many portions of your game this late in your life when you are such a master at your craft. I feel like it's so easy to just fall in love with getting the takedown, getting the, like, trying to get the submission because you know that's what you're good at and that's what you've done for the last whatever 10, 15, 20 years, however long. I know she's been training forever, so I'm like, it's hard to develop like the whole MMA game, I feel like, at that point. So I'm like, I feel like it's super impressive to see.
No, it definitely is. And I went back and I watched some of her jiu-jitsu matches too, and she's always kind of had this style. And I think it's like her style is not common in sport jiu-jitsu. Like she smothers people with pressure. Like she's never been like a guard player, you know? She's always been like, I need to be on top. I need to be smothering. And in a lot of her matches, I think, were points matches. So it's just dominance. Maybe I don't get the submission. And I feel like sometimes that style of jiu-jitsu translates really well to MMA. But like you said, it's very impressive to see her striking evolve and just her wrestling overall, the ground and pound. So I'm interested to see who they give her next.
Oh yeah, and I'm like, I feel like there was a lot of good like grappling exchanges on it, like a lot of good grappler versus grappler, or like even some grappler versus striker too. But you were talking about it earlier with the co-main event, the Sabatini looking absolutely phenomenal, like just complete on two different judges. He had a 10-8 in the second, and then on another scorecard he had a 10-8 in the third. So arguably 10-8.
More than one 10-8, to be completely honest.
Michael Bisping said there was a 10-8 in the first, so there's three people arguing for 10-8s all 3 rounds. So I'm like, it was just an absolutely dominant performance. I don't think that, like you said, you love seeing a striker or a good grappler beat a striker. That's exactly what it was, just complete control. It's another fight where he was opening up a lot. I would like to see him try, I don't know, just try to create more opportunities. You know, you just got to keep on working the whole time. They're obviously, that's the only argument for not giving him a 10-8 in those rounds. But it was complete domination for, I think, like 14 minutes. He was on top.
Control time was insane.
Yeah.
Like nothing for Brito, obviously. And then just like, I think it was like 4.5 minutes the first round, like almost 3 minutes in the third round, and then in the second round, and then like over half the third round.
As a striker, though, I'm like, Brito coming out there, first thing he does, throws a kick to the body. If I'm fighting a wrestler, I'm keeping my feet on the floor for a good couple of minutes so I can like feel you out, wear you down.
Kick the calf. If you want to kick the calf.
Well, he went back to the corner and the coach was like, we're not throwing any kicks this round. And then he goes out and the first thing he did was throw a calf kick. So I just found that funny too. But I'm like, keep your feet on the floor, and a guillotine, a half-hearted guillotine is not a takedown defense.
I agree. Like, you better have a damn good guillotine if that is your go-to.
Yeah, he was just getting put in like a Von Flue position over and over and over again.
Get it? I thought he was gonna Oven St. Preux this guy like two different times. I was like, oh, he's gonna Von Flue him. Close.
So close.
But no, and Brito has kind of been this uncrowned boogeyman of 145 for a while. Like, people are scared of him, you know, and rightfully so. He has like one loss where I'm like, I think it was like Bill Algeo was his debut. I don't know if it was just short notice, but that's like his one loss where I'm like, that's not like the best loss to have on your record. But everything else, like, he's looked pretty solid. I think his only other loss is William Gomis, which was a close fight. And I think Gomis is really difficult to fight and really good. But yeah, it's just almost fell into Von Flue like 4 times. Yeah, you got to have something else. You have to have something else. And if all else fails, give up your back. If you're already down 2 rounds and you can't sweep, submit, elevate enough to do a technical stand-up, like give up your back to get up. Because you might get your back taken. You might, but you might not. and you've already tried everything else and you're already losing. So at least don't just concede to be on your back for another round, you know?
And I will say especially in the second round, Sabatini shot a head outside single that like beautiful timing, which is probably why Brito kind of fell to that so quickly, which like you can't take away from that either. It's like it was just beautiful takedowns, beautiful timing. So a lot of it was he didn't have the opportunity to use proper takedown defense because Sabatini was on his legs before he noticed it.
Yeah. No, I meant more like once he's flat on his back. But yeah, no, I agree. Like, not to take anything away from Sabatini's timing. I've been a big fan of his for a long time. You better have like pretty much crazy knockout power to beat Pat Sabatini.
Oh yeah.
Not losing a lot of other fights like that.
I know we talked about it briefly, the McKee fight. So the first round was probably the most exciting thing that I've seen in a long time. Just absolute domination from McKee, dropping him, I think 3 or 4 times. Frunze being an absolute dog, just standing in front of him, and his eye closed. The lip that I didn't even notice till they were in the corner when the doctor stopped it. I don't know if you guys saw the pictures online after. It was absolutely disgusting. Me as a fighter at home, I'm saying, oh, they're stopping it because of a cut on the lip. Like, what? And then I see the pictures after. His whole lip is destroyed. It was disgusting. But for McKee, just absolutely beautiful, staying on the end of his punches, just keeping his distance perfect the whole time. And it was really, he was just like, he was there and he wasn't. He was in and out every single time, being a long guy, being able to use his length beautifully, and absolutely beautiful performance, and obviously deserved the $50K. But that lip was just,
And it was like jagged too. So I feel like it was not like, like when you get like a slicing elbow and it's like this really clean, deep cut. That's normally what causes like lips to cut like that. But that looked like it literally just like exploded from being punched so many times.
Dude was dropped like 3 or 4 times, eyes swollen, lip cut, absolute dog, still trying to be there and fight, just too tough for his own good.
Jake, I'm going to do a better job managing our time today so that we can talk about all the fights, and then we will get to PFL because it actually was a killer card. I don't know. Did you get to watch any of the PFL fights, G?
I watched a couple of them. I didn't watch the whole card.
It was actually a really fun night of fights, so we will touch on it, I promise. I think it's unfair to call last night a yawn fest. It definitely wasn't the worst card we've had this year. There were some really great fights, but I want to talk about the Romeus, and then I'm going to mispronounce his name. Cortavius Romeus fought the Chang Ho. And Gillian, I've never been so frustrated watching a fight against somebody I don't really know. I do know of Cortavius from like coming up on the Missouri MMA scene together, but I've never really met him. But that dude, yes, this looked just like that when Robbie Lawler's lip was like falling off. Anyway, but dude, Cortavius has so much talent and just so little fight IQ. Have you ever given up both hooks on the back to like fly off for an armbar?
There's a very fine line of taking offensive risks. And I feel like Torrez Finney is on one side of it, and Cortavius is on the far opposite other side of it. Where Cortavius, he just takes way too many risks offensively. He puts himself out there, tries to go for arm bars, chokes, whatever, and keeps on ending up in bad positions for it because he's just constantly taking too many risks. And it's just, like you said, poor fight IQ. Just maybe he can mature from this fight from that, but like you need to start making smarter decisions. It is always position first, obviously, the whole position before submission. It is always position. we'll argue with that because, like, in Finney's fight, I will say that then we needed more submission, we needed more punch, we needed more ways to.
Position.
Yeah, there was too much position in that fight. So that's why I'm like, there's a fine balance of like the middle line of you need to take some risks, but also make sure you're positionally safe.
Yeah. Oh no. Hang on. I'm sorry. My computer is like trying to open rams and I'm freezing. So talk for 2 seconds while I close Windows and figure out why on earth my Adobe is freaking out.
There is well, I was just gonna say
That's
there's
better. I'm so sorry. What is happening on my computer? But yeah, no, like you said, Cortavia's just too much risk. And I honestly feel like he should have won that fight. Like most of the initial positions he won. And when he would get reversed, it was not usually something crazy that Lee did to get on top, but him capitalizing and making the right decisions off of Cortavius's mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, dude, you have so much talent. What are you doing?
Like, how old is he? I'm not sure. I'm like, because
I tried to look it up, but my computer started freaking out.
I'm like, because it just seems like a young fighter's move, you know?
It does, but for some reason, I'm thinking he's not as young as like I would normally think, because I remember like when I was an amateur, he was an amateur. Like we were, he's 31. He's the same age as me and Grant. So it's like you said, most 31-year-olds are not vastly evolving their game.
Yeah. Usually whenever you're sparring in the gym and you're sparring a guy and you're like, he's 20. Like you can feel it. You can feel their age by how they spar you. So, like some of the more reckless decisions, some of the more like you said, like going for things, a little bit more poor fight IQ decisions. I'm like, those are usually like the 20 under 25-year-old guys. You can just tell instantly. But I'm like, that's why I assumed that Cortavius was a little bit younger because of the decision making he's in.
No, I agree. SG, we did go over the Pat Sabatini fight. You have to rewind, watch the rest, but we covered it all. With Cortavius. So the first time I watched him fight, he fought, you know who David Onama is, the Factory X guy. Glory. Super fun to watch. Great scrambler, great athlete, super power. They had like the best, probably most high-level amateur fight I've ever seen on a little show in Kansas City. And I saw it live and I was like, this is awesome. These guys are both so good. And then we watched, I don't know if Cortavius was just less, I don't know if he had injuries or what, or if he was just less active, but it just seemed like David went, and it took Cortavius so long to get here to the UFC. And I just don't know if he's evolved enough to be able to, I wonder, let's see. Because he's 9-4. So he doesn't have like a ton. I guess he hasn't had like he had like a 2-year layoff in here, you know.
This is my thought too. He is super athletic.
Such an athlete, dude. That's what I'm saying. Like, bro, you have gifts. Use them. Use them properly. My last thing I'll say about Torrez Finney, it's like when, I don't know if you remember like when Deron Wynn came on the scene, he was like DC's like protege. Torrez Finney is what Deron Wynn should have been. Like 100%. So he's got gifts too. So I'm like, I want to see these gifted guys do well, because I feel like they have things you can't teach.
Mm-hmm. Someone who I feel like looked very good last night, who I think was kind of fighting for his career, honestly. At one of his best performances, Ode Osborne went out there and absolutely killed it. Looked phenomenal both rounds with a clean knockout to finish. I'm like, coming off of 3-fight losing streak, and just like I said, performance absolutely saved his career.
Yeah, no, and he has things you can't teach too. Like I feel like not a lot of guys at flyweight are capable of putting people away like that. Like, and he is. Like, he's done it before. I know he's had his ups and downs, but he really did look great. And I think Garula is good. Like, I think he's a pretty talented guy. He had a sick takedown too. He like had like a lap drop, but like they were both in the air. Like that was sick. But I think he's really talented too. You could definitely see him connecting like earlier in the fight. Like Sean's saying, like you could see the KO coming. Like it was really beautifully done. Like especially at such a low weight class. Like I like seeing exciting things happen in these divisions where it's been like the champ is so dominant. Like, of course, I want Pantoja to retire the best ever and never lose another fight in his entire life. But it's always exciting when you have a super dominant champion and you get to see talent starting to. So I hope Ode can kind of put it together, because I think he's another guy who's very talented, has a lot of unteachables, and has just not always been able to turn it into wins, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes I don't know what it might just be like maybe wrong gym, wrong camp, wrong even training schedule. I feel like for me, that's what all it was, is I was on the wrong training schedule. And once I took control of that, changed it to what I needed, I'm on my own schedule of how I like it and how things need to be for me. And I get what I need for me to feel good. And that's all that matters. But a lot of times you got to mature into that. Like I didn't get to that until probably like 2 or 3 years ago, where I really feel like I'm comfortable with where I'm at with my coaches, my team, my training schedule, how everything's set up. It's like, it is such a process to find what's right for you. And it may just be some adjustments there that he's kind of grown into his own a little bit more.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like he looked really good. So I hope that continues, because I think he's a super talented. How old is he? We should probably know how old
we should know all these ages.
All the stats. Ode Osborne. We did. SG's asking about Finney. We talked about the Finney fight. We talked about the Sabatini fight. You guys will have to go back to the beginning. Let's see. He is 33. So he's not a spring chicken either. Yeah, and his UFC record's not like, it's not great, but he's also not losing to like bad guys. Like he's on a 3-fight losing streak before the Garule fight, which just beat a 10-0 guy. But like, listen to the names: Asu Amabayev, very good. Rafael Filho, very good. And Ronaldo Rodriguez, very good. Like 3 really good guys. Like, and he's got Charles Johnson as a win. He lost to Manel Kopp. Tyson Nam is one of those guys that was really good, but was also kind of inconsistent, I feel like. But like his losses aren't bad, you know? It's just flyweight's tough. I feel like everybody's either like at the bottom where they're developing, or they're just world class. Like there's not a lot of in-betweeners at 125.
I was just gonna say there's nothing in the middle there.
No, I agree. And it's like the rankings are getting tough at flyweight as well.
Oh yeah.
It was, he said unlucky. He was meant to say unlucky, but lucky to lose against Rodriguez at Noche. Yeah. He's 5-6, I think. Is he 5-7? I think he's 5-6. He is 5-6 in the UFC, which is not a great UFC record. But I agree. There's definitely some leniency at flyweight, and there has to be, because otherwise there'd be no fighters, because it's the smallest. Probably actually heavyweight's probably the smallest division now, where they're like less than 30 heavyweights.
I want to say heavyweight, or like if we go to the women's divisions, obviously those are like
pretty shallow.
Yeah, bantamweight doesn't have anything into it.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of wild. I'm very interested to see what happens with women's featherweight, because PFL kind of like took that over when they like absorbed Bellator. They got Cyborg. They have all these women, and now they're just like not doing a tournament for 145. And I know at least like one of my teammates was in that division. She got released, so she's able to go off. I don't know if they're releasing everybody. I don't know what the plan is there. But I do want to give PFL their flowers for like 2 seconds. We'll move on to it after we finish UFC Vegas 105. Were there any other fights you wanted to touch on?
I was just gonna say Diana Barbosa looked absolutely phenomenal. Worked on her striking a little bit more. Wasn't on the feet too long, obviously. Got a clean spinning back elbow. After that, everything looked effortless. Got a double leg. Literally the double leg was like straight into mount. She didn't even like have to work. Got into a head and arm, and it was quick, easy. Like it was a beautiful performance from her.
No, and she's another like big talent, I think, in that division. I think Diana Balbita definitely has a hole with her grappling, and she has in the past, but she's always been very difficult to finish. Like she's just a difficult girl to put away. So I think to just kind of cut through her like that is impressive.
And I guess another point we talked about before, there was no fight of the night that was given, But a fight of the night for me, I would say on the card would be Victor Henry and Pedro Falco.
That was a good fight.
That was an entertaining back and forth, just like super fun fight to watch. So I'm like, I'm upset that one didn't get a 50K.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And both those guys could have used it. I will say I'm happy to see a lot of the performance of the night bonuses going to some of these newer, younger prelim fighters. That always makes me happy because I remember when Grant got his first 50K, it like changed our freaking lives. So it's always like nice to see that. But yeah, I wouldn't have been upset with them each getting 50K for that. Jonathan Ramlakan, our guy John, he has a really awesome interview with Pedro Falco from a few weeks back. If you guys want to go back and watch that, you totally should. It's on the YouTube. But yeah, no. Honestly, I thought it was pretty solid Apex card. Obviously, it's going to be nothing compared to this weekend. We have UFC Miami. It's killer, but I don't hate this, Jake. Let's touch on this really quick. I understand, and you said something really great about this, like I think maybe last week or the week before, where you were like, I'm fine with it being harder to keep my job if it means that the UFC truly only has the best. And I feel like that's spot on. I think the reason some fans are frustrated with the UFC is because we are having a lot of very average cards instead of them fighting their better talent more often, who I think would be happy to fight more often. I know Grant would. I know Gillian probably would. But it's I'm not opposed to this. To there's a limited number of spots on every NFL team. Why is there not a limited number of spots in each UFC division?
Yeah, no, I agree that. I guess I've never even thought of it that way before, but that makes 100% sense. It's just like, I guess the argument would be like, there's more people, I guess, at like, say like 155, So it's like, then it's like the competition for 155 to get those top 50 spots is going to be impossible versus I think there's less than 50 heavyweights in the UFC currently. So those spots are already given pretty much, It's just, I'm like, I feel like that would be the only argument is like in weight classes where there are more people, like there's a lot of good lightweights out there.
Well, maybe there's 100 spots for lightweight then, and then there's 20 for heavyweight because that's how many good heavyweights there are, like, and it's good morning, Sean. Morning. But and I want to play devil's advocate here. This doesn't have to mean less events. We might have events where there's only one girl fight, but there's 4 lightweight fights. We had a card like that not too long ago. It was like we had Ignacio Bahamondes and Jalen Turner were on the card. I think Nazrat and Esteban Rabovich were on the same card. Like there were like 4 or 5. Moicano was on that card, I think. I'm having brain farts. Yes. I'm pretty sure.
Well, you're doing a lot better than me because I do not remember any of that.
Might be combining 3 cards into one, but I know there was a card recently that had like 4 or 5 lightweight fights on it, and it was killer. It was an absolutely killer card. Dude, Grant would love to fight 3 times a year. I know like the lightweights in our gym would love to get more fights. Movsar would love to be more active. These guys, Gamrot would love to be more active. These guys beg for fights. But because there's so many fighters that need to be on cards, it's so hard for them to match them up as often as they'd like to be. Like if we're lucky, Grant has like a 9-month layoff between fights. That is not his choice. I promise. So it's, I think there's plenty of fighters. You might have a lot more of the same weight class fighters. Like you said, like the deeper divisions, 145 through 170, you'd probably see a lot more of those fights than you would other divisions. But I think that's okay. Like get everybody 3 fights a year. Have a smaller roster, Be awesome. Let's do it. That would force John Jones to fight at least once a year.
That's what I was just about to click on.
I saw you laughing. What is it? But yeah, no, I'm for it. I'm in. Like it honestly doesn't affect the female fighters as much because once again, there's just not as many female fighters. I feel like it's just less. All right, are we done with Vegas 105?
I was just about to say, I think that's all I have for the UFC now. I'm gonna let you take it away with the PFL. I'm like, I only got to really watch the main event, honestly, so I didn't really get into PFL too much. Which I don't. How do you feel about that? That there was the back of the head shots, then right after they restarted, there was a finish, very fast after.
I don't want to take anything away from Jason Jackson because I do think this was his fight to win. However, I do not think that there should ever be that egregious of a illegal blow that does not result in at least a point deduction. But you know how I feel. I think if you do something illegal, fight should probably be over. You should probably lose by DQ. I don't think there should be very much leniency unless it's something where it's like we both kicked at the same time. And, I think something like that where the Korshkov was in a pretty compromising position, took several shots that were a little dicey, maybe got a little ear in there, but didn't really look like it. And then literally had so much blood down the back of his head that he looked like Kratos from God of War. I have mixed feelings on that. And I didn't realize this because I was in the arena, so I couldn't hear the broadcast, but they were pushing him to start fighting again. Like they didn't even give him his full time.
I heard the broadcast saying something about like, it sounded like they were confused on how much time he was supposed to be given, or that
maybe that's it.
Like just from the broadcast point, I don't. There was different conversations with like the ref and the commission that they weren't a part of, but the broadcast seemed to think that they made a comment about it only being a 5-minute penalty for groin shots, and I was like, I just thought that comment was weird. So I was like, it seemed like the broadcast booth was a little bit confused about what was going on in the cage necessarily as well.
Right. I mean, I was very confused because I was like, this fight should probably be stopped. Like, and then to see no point taken as well, like it was Keith Peterson, right?
I'm not 100% sure, but definitely, especially like it's a huge blow to the back of the head. Blood is literally coming out of the back of the head. I think at that point, like it's like obvious. It's not like, did he hit him in the back of the head?
Right.
No.
The evidence is right there.
Like, I think at that point, a point needs to be taken.
I thought Sean was saying I was wearing pink right now, and I was so confused. Hey, I love my suit. That's my business Barbie suit. Okay, Sean, I love it. But I'm with you. I feel like something needed to be done, and he went to sleep really fast in that choke, which begs to differ. Is it just because Korshkov is ancient and is like 82 in fight years because he's been in so many wars? The dude was literally fighting in Bellator in like 2012. Pretty sure he was the champ of Bellator in like 2015. Like he's been since I was like in high school. Korshkov has been fighting in Bellator. So maybe he's just too old. Maybe he was half unconscious from getting elbowed right in the back of his cervical spine, and he went to sleep like that. I don't know, but I do think Jason Jackson was going to win that fight. I do.
I agree with you. I think Jason Jackson was going to win. I do think that the takedown and submission came a little bit too effortless after the back of the head shots, though.
I agree. Like it was a little dicey.
It just didn't seem like there was much fight back.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I thought it was not great. It was not a great look. Jason Jackson is at this point with Magomed Molotov out of the tournament. I think Jason Jackson is probably my pick to win it all. So I do expect him to do well, but yeah, I thought it was a little bit weird. But I thought all back of the head strikes were a penalty. Yes, they are all. Yes, that is true. Now with the strip down your spine is a different width than the strip down the back of your head that is illegal. But technically, if it is behind the ear, that should be considered an illegal blow. That's how it's always been explained to me at every single fight I've ever been in. So
they've always told me that like if you have headphones on and like a mohawk down the back, it'd be that part you can't hit.
Exactly. Stripe down the back of your head, illegal. But Yeah, we'll see. Also, yes, guys, go back and watch all the media day stuff from PFL. It was actually really awesome. So do that. It's on our YouTube and our Facebook. It's everywhere. Just go find it. But it honestly, to me, the man of the night was Thad Jean. Have you watched Thad Jean fight before?
I have watched him fight before. My boyfriend's actually trained with him a couple times.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, I didn't get to watch his fight this weekend though.
The top of the head is not the back of the head. Because it's like it starts like here.
It's like it's the headphone. If you got the headphones on, so the front part we're good.
Yeah.
Back here,
you're
not.
This is legal. Like you can like tomahawk elbow people on the top of the head, which I don't know if that would be that beneficial. But anyway, all right.
Try to hurt your elbow.
That Jean, awesome. That Jean, if you guys don't know, was supposed to be an alternate in the tournament. Got pulled up on fairly short notice to replace, I don't even remember who, to be honest. And was fighting the guy that Jason Jackson called the scariest Russian in the tournament. And that was Muhammad Burkamov. That's how you say his last name. I do not have it in front of me, guys. But and looked absolutely phenomenal. Stuffed shots, went first, beautiful knockout. Like Thad Jean is so young, super talented, and I'm really excited to see him evolve as well, because I feel like he's just gotten exponentially better every year. And I honestly didn't know if he was ready to be in a tournament like this, because he is so young in the sport, and he took out one of the toughest guys. Unfortunately, in the next round, he's fighting Jason Jackson, who I think is a really tough matchup for him, because I do think he can match some of his speed. But I would love to see Thad Jean just like surprise everybody and get it all done. He's such a cutie. He's such a nice guy. He called out Dakota Ditcheva to, I don't know, go on a date. I think on the mic. It was actually pretty cute. But yeah, he's a stellar guy, and honestly, like looked phenomenal. So I also thought Jeremy Kennedy beat Movlead, who was my other pick to win the whole tournament. Like at 145, I thought Movlead was going to starch everybody. And Jeremy Kennedy, I thought he won that fight. I really do. You should go back and watch it, by the way. It's awesome. Like it's a really good fight. He almost finishes Movlead in the first several times, is dominating the whole first half of the second round, gets clipped, gets hurt, almost gets finished, gets kind of dominated the rest of the second round. So I gave the second round to Movlead. And then I thought the third round, super close, super back and forth, really fun, really exciting. I thought Kennedy should have won it, but it was a really close third round. But it's so hard remembering what happened Thursday when yesterday just happened. I know I love being in PFL season because I have fights to watch like 3 nights a week. It's awesome.
Actually have things to do. Like, ooh, I fights tonight.
And tonight. I'm pretty sure Invicta had a card last week that
it was the 4th. So 2 days ago?
I was coming back from Orlando and I slept all day on Friday. So I missed that, but I need to go back and watch it because I saw Emily Ducote had an awesome performance. I saw highlight reel of hers.
Yeah, I didn't get to see much of it. I know a girl who was on the card, so that's I guess the only reason I knew about it even. But
that's fair.
I'm like, I honestly, since Invicta it came off Fight Pass, I feel like it's not as accessible. I'm like a lot of things. I'm like, I feel like, I don't know, Fight Pass. Well, obviously ESPN's like hard, like the big promotions are on. You got the PFL, the UFC, but if it's not on Fight Pass, it's like it's hard to remember, access, things like that all the time.
Well, and my beef with Invicta, which stinks extra because I'm signed with them. So like when I fight this year, it'll be the same route. I love the platform. I love Shannon. I love everything they're doing, but it's on CBS Sports live TV. So you can't access it
rewatch
in the CBS Sports app. You have to wait for it to go on YouTube is why, because I don't have cable. Like we don't.
Yeah, neither do I. So that's probably why I missed Invicta.
No, so you can watch the prelims are always on YouTube, but then the main card is only on CBS like live TV, which I don't have. So I just have to like watch the prelims and then wait for the main card to come out on YouTube, and then I'll go back and watch all the fights. And they've been having some really good cards the last like year and a half. So I wish they were more, I'm with you. I wish they were more accessible.
No, I like you said, like, I feel like the average household doesn't have live TV nowadays. Like, I don't, you don't. I'm like, it's just, I got my Netflix, I got my Fight Pass, I have all my apps. Like, it just needs to be more accessible because it is something that I would want to tune into.
100%. Yeah. See, I didn't even know this. I need to go back. I need to see it all because they've been having some killer cards and they've been having some killer atomweight fights, which makes me excited because I'm ready for there to be some. Can we talk next week? Like, what are you breaking up with us, Sean? Like, what? Can we talk? I mean,
we need to have a talk.
We'll be here every week, but actually might not be here Sunday. It might just be G might have to take over Sunday Morning Brew next week. We'll see. It's a possibility.
We'll see.
We'll see. But anywho, we touched on PFL. Thad Jean looked awesome. Jeremy Kennedy, I thought, should have won. There were some really good fights, honestly. Like, go on ESPN, go back and watch them. I feel like PFL has a really good product this year. Like,
I was just gonna say, in the other news, the GFL actually announced dates.
I know, and apparently they told fighters they have a venue. So
yeah, I'm like, they have cards and they have dates announced. So I'm like, we might have fights from the GFL May 25th, and I think May 24th and May 25th. So they're back to back. But
I'm in. Let's do it. I think there should be more fights. I think we need more promotions. We need more like PFL Bellator level promotions. We really do. I feel like it's bad for the sport if it's just the UFC. Like, there's less opportunities. If there's less opportunity, less people will go into MMA, you know?
We've talked about it before. I think we just need the year-long contender series. We don't need the PFL and Bellator. We just need year-long contender.
It's not technically another show, right?
Yeah. But I'm like, it's just, we need the feeders to the best promotion, the feeder to the UFC. I'm like, that's all I would be happy with.
Exactly. Or just dump a bunch of money into LFA, CFFC, like those shows, like build those back up, FAC, you know?
LFA is actually pretty good sometimes. I do watch it. I'm like, because that one's on Fight Pass too. And I feel like, actually the numbers are absolutely insane. I want to say it's like 200 and something people have been signed from LFA to the UFC. So the LFA, I guess, is essentially the year-long contender because I'm like, anybody who becomes a champ in LFA, I feel like is getting picked up, is getting looked at. Like, that it is a very good promotion to fight for, and they do have higher level fights on a regional level.
No, they do. They do for sure. The UFC needs a rookie league. I'm in. Do you think PFL will have long-term sustainability with their current roster? They could. And not all the fights are Thursdays, guys. So last week was Thursday. Next week's Friday, the 11th. The next week is Friday, the 18th. Then there's a dead week, and then week 4. So the final week of round 1 will be on a Thursday again. So I'm assuming ESPN was like, you can have this day, and you are not going to throw a fit, and you'll get what you get. So, that's what you're asking. Yes, there will be a watch along this weekend for UFC Miami, and I will be there, and Dave will be there, and Michael will be there, and Grant will be there, and we will all be live at Dave's studio in Orlando-ish area. I don't really know exactly where he lives. Orlando-ish. It'll be fun. Yeah. So guys, definitely tune in on Saturday. It's going to be a really fun watch along. I guess LFA is the rookie league. Yeah, it kind of is.
I'll be sitting over here, fingers crossed that the UFC is going to be like, you're cool enough to get tickets, Gillian.
Dude, I like my strength coach is going. And I'm like, we've never gotten tickets to a UFC event. I'm like, but I guess like one of his business partners or friends is like a UFC sponsor now. So he's like, yeah, I'm going. I'm like, I hate you.
They usually text me on like Tuesday or Wednesday the week of and let me know of if they do have tickets or if they don't have tickets. So I'm just sitting here and waiting to see. It might be at UFC Miami, might just be at home watching it.
And honestly, this is probably not the card that they're going to give away a lot of tickets to fighters for.
Yeah, it never is for whenever, like, obviously Miami, 10 minutes. The venue's literally 10 minutes away from my house. Always have the biggest card. So they're like, yeah, Gillian, you can't go.
You're not invited. So sad. UFC events in person are so weird without the commentary. Yeah, it's definitely a different watching experience, but I feel like I enjoy the fights more as a fan when I'm just there at the event because I'm not trying to analyze it. Like, I'm not trying to score it. I'm not listening to like, oh, so-and-so needs to do XYZ. I'm just like, yes, this is great. So I definitely think I enjoy, like, I watch it more like a fan and less like an analyst when there's no commentary.
Me just being in the arena, I feel like, I don't know, it's the energy, it's the vibes of the arena. I'm like, I just get lost in that. I love so much, I don't know, just fight night vibes, just like puts me there, puts me in the feelings of like getting to perform, getting to be out there. I'm like, it's just, I love that feeling more than anything else. So just being in an arena, I feel like is special to me.
It's like an extra fight night for G without
exactly. Without actually having to get punched in the face.
A great night. All right. They need to advertise it more on ESPN so people know when to watch. They only ever advertise UFC pay-per-views. Are you talking about?
For PFL, I'm assuming.
Oh, that makes more sense. I agree. Anywho, okay. Guys, it's been 56 minutes. Oh, we did not talk about the biggest elephant in the room. So, first of all, Movsar Evloev has tweeted that he has exciting fight news. I might know what it is, but I'm not going to tell you guys. I'm sorry. He has exciting fight news. I'm super pumped about it. Maybe I'll tell Gillian later. But Movsar has fight news. But more importantly, the UFC Spanish broadcast has leaked some very sensitive information about Ilia Topuria. And I did screenshot the text and put it into a nope, not that one. And put it into the Google Translate just to make sure people weren't making it up because I don't speak Spanish. And it is in fact that apparently Ilia, which we already knew he was moving up, but that he's moving up and his first fight will be against Charles Oliveira. So that's announced now. Is it for an interim title? Because Islam is moving up? Because Ali just said that Islam not moving up until the welterweight title fight happens is fake news. So my theory is Islam is never going to fight at lightweight again, and Ilia and Charles are fighting for the vacant title. That is my theory.
I like that theory.
Which is poor Arman. I know, like it was a bad look that he got hurt on fight week, but poor Arman.
No, but honestly, that now that you say, because I do think that Topuria beats Oliveira, but Topuria versus Arman is a more interesting fight to me now that you just bring him up too. I'm like, that fight, I think, poses more issues for Topuria than an Oliveira fight.
I agree, and I think that's why they're matching it up like this, because I think Charles stylistically is one of the better matchups in the top 5 for Ilia, just because he's not as like big and he's not as heavy. He obviously has fantastic grappling, but he tends to not be as heavy of a wrestler unless he's fighting Michael Chandler. And I think he's clippable. You know, I think the only better matchup for Ilia in the top part of that division is probably Justin Gaethje, I would say. But
yeah, no, I think even that, I feel like Oliveira, he might match up better against the Gaethje as well too. I think that Oliveira's, he gets clipped sometimes. You know, like I just feel like Topuria is just, he sees the holes. He's able to find his shots. He's able to find his holes. And I feel like he'll be able to do that with Oliveira sooner.
Yeah. Oliveira's just, he's hittable.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's fair. And man, the dude's got cannons for hands. I'm so interested to see how he does at lightweight because I don't think he's big enough. But sometimes guys carry their power even more so up a weight class, you know? So we'll see. We'll see. I'm kind of like, what are they going to do with Arman now?
It's like you said, like the second you brought up his name, I instantly thought, I was like, no, that would be a better matchup. But now, like him on the side and with Makhachev moving up, it's like, what? I don't know. I don't know what it would be next for him.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll get into it later. I actually don't know. Did they announce? I don't think it said a date for the Topuria fight. I think it just
said that. Mm-hmm.
And this is not the first time Arman versus Dan Hooker. It's a good matchup for Arman.
Yeah, I think that's a good matchup for Arman. I don't like that matchup for Dan Hooker.
I don't know. I mean, I still want to. I think it'd still be a fun fight, but I don't think he's got the grappling to.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, I feel like it would be a dominant 3 rounds from Arman fighting Dan Hooker, and he would just be drowning him, just taking him down, doing work. Right. I don't think Hooker has what it takes to really handle Arman's wrestling and jiu-jitsu.
No, that's fair. Like, there's definitely a little bit of danger early in the fight before like Hooker gets taken down. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Oh, thinks Charles wins. I love it. Dan did beat Gamrot though. Yeah, I didn't think he did, but it was a very close fight. I'm not biased at all. But tattooed Dan Hooker definitely looks scarier. Gamrot's wrestling style though, totally different from Arman's. Like MMA math doesn't always add up. I know Gamrot beat Arman, but like Arman has better control than Gamrot. Gamrot has a better shot. Gamrot probably has the best just shot in the UFC. Like it's so fast.
He has the most impressive. He can like, it looks like he gets dropped sometimes and he shoots. Like
100%.
He like shoots from like a couple inches off the ground. He like gets so low and then shoots. I'm like, like you said, it is the most impressive thing. So many times in fights, I'm like, did he just get rocked? Oh no, he's in on a takedown. Like
he's
what happened? Yeah.
No, he's got the best shot. Like it's so good. It's stupid. I see him hit it on like good middleweight wrestlers. Like he just has a really good shot, but Arman has the better control. So it's like they have different strengths, and I think that Arman's strengths match up against Dan Hooker better than Gamrot's strengths. You have to be able to control Dan Hooker, because if you can't keep him down, there's a lot of danger. So I think Arman's a tough matchup for Hooker. Okay, it's been over an hour. We got to go. Gillian's alarm went off like 2 minutes ago. Be like, we're done. That was her telling me we're done. So guys, tune in Tuesday. We will have a show this week because PFL Media Days not start till Wednesday. We also have Bo Nickel coming up this week, Wednesday at 1 p.m. Dave and I will be live with Bo to talk about his upcoming fight, which is very exciting against Ritter. So
on the same day as me.
That's right. It's the same card. It'll be fun. So we'll chat Wednesday with Bo. Tuesday we'll have some guests. It'll be a good time. I promise. Tune in. We love you guys. Go to the YouTube. Sub to YouTube before the watch along. So we're gonna have lots of fun giveaways, but you have to be subbed to the YouTube. So do it. All right.